everybody. I'm Ivan.
And I'm Dan.
And today is our very first Patreon shoot. What did you bring out today, Dan?
Well, today I brought out a Gewehr 41 and an SVT-40.
Very beautiful rifles. This is a pretty amazing
Opportunity.
Opportunity is definitely the word. Dan reached out to me and he happened to be close enough and he had some amazing firearms, so I couldn't pass it up.
Yep, and it's just a few of what we brought out today to shoot. So we're gonna run and gun like it's the Ostfront 1941.
Okay, G41. Go.
There it is. I lost it.
Okay, you got it at 1 minute 10 seconds, 0.51. How'd that feel?
That is a hard target to see.
Yeah, if you guys haven't noticed, it's not in the sun and it's a very dark gray, kind of simulates a realistic target. And also we started with the guns 5 rounds so that we could make sure that we have a reload in that. Okay, SVT time.
Go. Nice.
Okay, I'm just gonna do one at a time. Oh, were you standing from here?
No, I was kneeling there.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Maybe I should have loaded too. Oh no. First time running this thing, so. Okay, a little bit rough, but it'll do. How much time?
1:19.
Okay.
All right, I was a little slow on that. It was technically probably 1:18.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
Wow, this thing is so much lighter. I learned from your mistake.
Yeah, load 2.
Hey. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. 1:19. And that's why you load 2, kids. Oh, I see. So I was aiming dead center.
Yep.
And they were going under. As soon as I start aiming for the head, dead on.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why I was like, I see what's going on.
Well, your time was 1 minute, 28 seconds. There was definitely some misses in there, but hey, the SVT was working pretty good.
No, it cycled everything. And I mean,
Smell it smoking.
awesome. I didn't pay attention to the rims
Okay.
when I was loading them. So no rim lock yet.
Okay. Awesome. My turn.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Go.
Liking this rifle. Empty. Definitely smooth. Okay. How did I hit it yet?
That's 2.
That's 2?
That's 2.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
I seen about, it was
55 seconds.
53 when I ended. I seen it over on the side.
Oh.
Man, guys, this thing is awesome. I shot 5 shots out of both before we started making these videos. And Dan got that on camera, and I thought I preferred the SVT. We'll see. We'll have to run again with the SVT, but this is starting to really grow on me. Okay, G41 again for Dan. Are you ready?
Round 2.
Go.
Do some dynamic reloading. That doesn't work.
Whoa. You got 2 off on that one. That was
did.
weird.
That was me stroking the trigger.
Gotcha. Fully automatic G41.
I think I bump fired it.
Made me jump a little bit. There it is. Okay.
So
Not a bad run at 1 minute, 15 seconds.
something that you're not going to be able to see from the camera, this has a very light trigger in it. It's probably under 5 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a very light trigger.
Yeah, I was surprised when both those went off at the same time.
Me too. I looked, I'm like, whoa.
Very good. Okay. My turn on the SVT.
All right. Okay, are you ready?
I am ready.
Go.
Okay, it's coming back. The light changed and it helps. it. Oh.
3 hits, nice.
Okay. There it is. The concussion off of this rifle is awesome. Oh, got a little hang up there. Oh, he doesn't want it in there, so I'm gonna keep him out. Okay, we're back to it. .57, that is a good run.
57.95.
I feel like both of these rifles have something going for them. This is light, it's a little more abrupt in the recoil, but as long as your sights don't have too much glare on them, they work pretty good. But also the G41 feels like it's a much more smooth system, better trigger. I don't know. They're both good in their own way.
I appreciate the 6-port muzzle brake.
Absolutely, and the people beside you do not.
No, they do not.
Awesome. Okay, we have Dan one more time with the SVT-40. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go. Doing good.
That's it?
Well, that's it. Well, we had an incomplete at 1 minute, 11 seconds. What do you think was going on there?
To be honest, I wanted to see if how fast I could hit the target.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to line up the sights and just pull the trigger as fast as I could.
Gotcha. We should have had one more clip with you. We normally have more ammo on us.
Undoubtedly would have hit. I can see the trees right behind it, the bullet just going right past.
Okay. Well, still, I think you would have hit it pretty soon. So you were doing pretty good at the beginning.
Yeah.
I'll run the G41 again, and we can see what's gonna happen.
Do a conclusion.
Yeah, conclusion. Oh.
All right. This is Ivan's last run with the G41.
G41.
You ready?
I am.
Go.
I seen it move. Even if it didn't sound like it, I seen it bounce. Okay. Okay.
All right, 45 seconds.
Dude, like I might have said earlier, I'm falling in love with this rifle. I really like the SVT early on. Something about, yeah, it's a little heavier. It feels good, if that makes sense. It feels like German quality. And I don't know, early on I wasn't so sold, but I'm getting really sold on this rifle. I am very happy with it.
All right, so we just got done shooting the SVT-40 and the G41 against each other in a head-to-head battle to the death. Ostfront, 1941.
Absolutely.
No, well, we brought them out. We shot them against each other. We had fun. And we both did 2 or 3 runs each. I think it was 2 runs with each gun. And, well, you haven't shot either of them before. These are both mine, so what do you think?
Well, what I found is when we first took them out, I felt like I want to put 5 rounds through both just to see how they feel. And in those 5 rounds, I really preferred the SVT-40 over the G41, but the G41 definitely had a cool thing going for it. But as we continued to shoot the rifles, the G41 just started to rise and rise and rise up in my opinion, because just something about it feels so much more refined, and it is. And it's definitely more complicated.
Insanely more complicated. Literally everything, the action, the gas system, everything's more complicated than the SVT.
Yeah.
For me, because I haven't shot these moving around before.
Yeah.
We were running around with it, and I have to say the sights on the G41, the sight picture is, I don't know why, but it's easier to make hits with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looks like to me like the blade is a little bigger. But I agree. Something about it just gives you a little more confidence.
Well, it could also be the trigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a nice trigger in it, which actually feels like a trigger.
It absolutely does. With the angles on this SVT-40, I would come in to grab it and have to double check that I actually was grabbing the trigger, not the front of the trigger guard, because they actually feel very similar, where the G41 trigger just feels right, and it's super light, and it just feels great.
It's super light. It feels like a match trigger. Like it's under 5-pound pull, which honestly I'm not sure if is good for a battle rifle, but we were making hits with it all day long. Absolutely,
and it definitely feels like more of a rifle. And
it does.
And the SVT is definitely lighter. It feels more quick in the hand, but something about it just doesn't feel quite as grounded.
Yeah, well, if you look at the profile, the SVT is at least 50% thinner.
Absolutely.
It's a probably 2 or 3 pounds lighter than the G41. I feel like this was made for, troops. Like, this is a big bulky gun that works great, but it's heavy.
But I have a feeling if we had to march miles and miles and miles and then shoot them, I think I would probably prefer the SVT.
Yes.
But I would say that any issues that we did have today, we didn't have any issues with the G41, but we had one very odd malfunction early on when we were testing them.
Well, it wasn't early on. We'd done 2 or 3 rounds with this already, but I threw the case away. It ejected a spent casing, flipped it around, and tried to shove it back in the chamber.
And it actually closed.
And it did it.
Yeah, and it was the hardest stuck thing in the entire world that I've ever had to mess with. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, I got it open. Mm-hmm. Thank goodness. I was afraid I might not, but I got it open, and we were both in total shock.
Absolutely.
Just flabbergasted. I've never seen that, and I've shot this rifle quite a bit. I've never seen a malfunction like that. The most I've seen was the other one we had earlier, where it stovepiped.
Yep.
It tried to close on an empty round, but that's the most I've ever seen from this gun. I've never seen it do anything like that before.
Looks like we might have had a little bit of an issue.
Oh, I see what happened.
Oh, did it? When it was trying to What on earth happened?
That's a spent one. So it fired.
Okay.
And ejected, spun the casing around, and tried to and shoved it back in.
I have never seen anything like that.
I haven't either.
And that was hard. We had to shotgun it with his foot, just to get it to go. That is bizarre.
Matter of fact, I've never heard of anyone having that problem before.
Another interesting aspect is the safeties on these.
Yes.
On the SVT, it's this little flip down that actually just blocks the trigger.
Literally, it just physically blocks the trigger.
And that's pretty handy. Though with the G41, just like with the G43, you have this big wing safety, and it actually is pretty handy to use. But it definitely is definitely a different beast.
Yes. And you know, I like this safety a lot because it's easy to operate. You know, with your trigger finger.
Mm-hmm.
This you have to use your thumb, and you kind of have to break your grip to flip it all the way over. Which you can do it one-handed though. So
mm-hmm. I did find it was nice
safety.
for a quick glance to know whether or not it was unsafe though.
Yes.
Because sometimes that can hide on the SVT.
Yes, you kind of have to feel.
Very cool.
And so the SVT-40 was, you know, obviously it was improved SVT-38, which was adopted in '38, and this was intended to replace the Mosin. So this beautiful rifle, which, and a lot of people don't realize, because they were trying to replace the Mosin Nagant, how many of these rifles.
Sounds like the Russians are charging again.
The front is moving closer. You know, a lot of people don't realize how many of these rifles the Soviets had made and given to their men. At the time that Germany invaded, about 1 in 3 soldiers had an SVT-40. And they made almost...
It's okay, you can continue.
Okay. They made almost 2 million of them by the time they stopped in 1944. So they were not an uncommon sight on the battlefield, and actually the Germans encountering them was the reason in 1941 they were like, we need a semi-auto rifle. And so in 1941, they had the G41.
And this was kind of their first attempt for, in a lot of ways, on a fieldable semi-auto, correct?
Yes, this was the first semi-auto that they mass-produced. They made about 50,000 of them between 41 and 43 when the G43 was adopted. And actually, because this rifle, of the requirements of the German High Command, they had concerns about drilling a gas port in the barrel. Unfounded concerns. I think they just want, I don't know. They could have just said, hey, make us a semi-auto rifle and had something good, but they had requirements like no drilling in the barrel, so all that's left is a gas trap system. And they wanted a fixed barrel, so no like recoil system. So gas trap system it is. Their other requirement was they wanted a bolt that you could turn and operate like a K98.
Yeah.
And they wanted no moving parts on the outside of the gun. And Walther was like, screw you, we're just gonna make a rifle. And so they have a gas trap system, but they ignored the bolt and the moving bits on the outside of the gun requirements. So when the High Command was like, because the reason is that if it failed, they wanted it to still operate like a bolt action, which to anyone who knows guns is like, that's a stupid requirement. So it just goes to show how the German High Command had no idea what they were talking about, didn't know what they wanted, tried to control everything, but Walther added this knob to be like, hey, if it fails, it's basically just a straight pull. Alright, so this is a gas trap system, which means the barrel of the rifle ends right about here, right in front, right behind the cone. So the bullet is going to come, it's going to leave expanding gases, are going to expand, and then the cone is going to make the gases, you know, constrict them. So you're going to have high pressure here as the gases try to leave out, you know, the muzzle outside of the cone. So the high pressure is going to force a piston in here backwards. And there's an operating arm that runs along the top of the gun and pushes on the bolt carrier. So it's basically a short stroke system with the piston on the outside of the barrel instead of like the SVT on top of the barrel. So real quick, there's a spring-loaded plunger right here. I don't know if you can really see that.
Yep.
But right here, there's a spring-loaded plunger. So you have to push that in, and then this cone is threaded on. So you're about to see how dirty this gets because we've been shooting this all day. You can see, matter of fact, carbon building up. And this is a really tight fit. There we go. So you can see all of the carbon that's built up. And because the gas expands, and this sits on the outside of the barrel. So the barrel ends right here. This is going to be right here. And then the cone is going to be right here. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but the gas is going to push on the piston, and it's going to go backwards like that. And right here, we have the op rod that comes back and pushes on the bolt carrier. So you can see how that works. And you can see how dirty it gets. This was really the rifle's downfall on the Eastern Front. Because it relies on expanding gases, and gases don't expand that well in the cold. So this thing did not operate well in the Russian winters, but also they were shooting corrosive ammo. And when you're in the middle of war and you don't bother taking time to clean your rifle really well, this thing locks up inside this sleeve real tight. And if you don't keep it clean and you're shooting corrosive ammo in the cold Russian winter and snow and ice, and it'll freeze. And then you have a single shot rifle that's no better than a bolt action and weighs 5 pounds more.
Yep.
So that was basically what killed the rifle on the Eastern Front in World War II, and led to the development of the G43, which is this action with Tokarev's gas system, which actually does work well in the cold.
Yeah, it's definitely a more traditional style that we're used to seeing today.
Yes, well, we're used to seeing it today. At the time, it was revolutionary. And hang on, I'm gonna get this back on. Okay, so the cleaning rod is held in with a little button right here, which is really cool. You have to take that out, and then you can push down on this spring that holds the front band on. If you take the front band off, top cover comes off, and you can see the gas system. And so what happens is, this is a short stroke piston, and the gas is gonna come up here, and it's gonna push the piston backwards. So you can see right here, the piston comes back and pushes on the bolt carrier. And it's a tilting bolt. So that's gonna move it, everything back and forth. So this is a short stroke system. It goes about this far. You can disassemble it further, but we're not going to out here. So yeah, so this was the system, the gas system, that they put on the G41 and turned into the G43. And it's actually exactly the same system. They copied it directly. So the G43 is often called Hitler's Garand because it's a semi-auto. I don't know why Americans call it that. It's really Hitler's Tokarev.
I have to agree, man.
But so that's how this operates.
Okay, guys, so in conclusion, I had to, we kind of asked ourselves what were our favorite rifles that we shot today, and for me it was definitely the G41.
And I'd have to say, I love the SVT-40.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank Dan for hooking me up, allowing me to come out shoot some of his very rare and expensive and very cool guns.
Yep.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So I've been Ivan.
I'm Dan.
And we'll catch you next time on Forest Firearms.
For sure. With some other rare guns next time.
Absolutely.